This is Rob Thompson. That's Mike Scharfenberg over there. Happy Wednesday. Happy Monday, Mike.
These all blend together. Right. Happy Monday, everybody out there.
It's terrifying. So everybody, welcome from LinkedIn and from YouTube. This is Monday morning for us. Our Monday 10 a.m. podcast that we want to talk about influencers in the industry. We got Adam LaManque. He's the global biz dev and sports and entertainment for AT&T, and he's going to be joining us in about 5 minutes. But Mike, we want to talk a little bit about, because this is a new show and not everybody knows exactly who we are for the most part, and nor do I expect them to. But let's talk a little bit about who you are, what's your role, what game plan you is.
Yeah, so let's take a step back to our core mission, and we're a virtual sport tech lab. It's focused around connecting three primary groups: our sport tech startups, investors, and then the last piece is students. And then my role with the company is to work with each and every one of the different groups, so whether that's the startup, the investor, the students, and just help all of them grow in any way we can. What else would you like to add to that, Rob?
No, I think career seekers really is, because it's sometimes it's much more. I mean, you're postgraduate, so it's much more than just a student. Although you met as part of our mentorship program at the University of New Haven, and it's a prime example of Mike coming in through an immersion into the industry. Being a rising star, and I just grabbed a hold of him. I'm like, I need you to help me develop this. And his perspective, his energy, his attitude led him to become a lot more involved. And now the executive director within Game Playing You, specifically for the sports tech founder piece of our business, and really managing that role. So it's an incubated idea that became part of our ecosystem of bringing in these career seekers into the fold to discover the sports tech side of the industry above and beyond. That's the ones that are going to be servicing the teams, the leagues, the media companies, the brands, from a technology side. And then, Mike now is kind of into career seekers that come through now have a place that we have a 12-week program and an opportunity to work directly with whether they're brands and teams and leagues, but specifically for our sports tech founders.
I think that piece is huge, and that was a mission that we had in the beginning, and kind of got away from it, as we started the company, and we really wanted to circle back, and that's a reason why this podcast was started as well. But we're really looking at, like, our core mission is to help every single party that we work with. So that's where bringing the students back now, and having our founders who have projects that they need to get done, we pair them with students and have those students get that real world experience of, creating a marketing plan for a real life startup, right? It's a little different when you're doing it for real and with a real live client than when it's in the classroom, right? So that's the piece that we're working on now and looking to add, and we're looking for this podcast to supplement that.
How you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys?
So let's talk. I'm going to tee up the first one, then I'm going to turn it over to Mike. But I want to tee up the first question. So talk a little bit. Let's talk about your current role, and then we'll work backwards from there. All right. So we'll talk about how you got the role, what specifically you do there. But talk about your current role at AT&T. What's basically your job title, and what's your day-to-day responsibility?
So my job title is business development rep. And so my job as a whole is to, there's 400 or so professional sports teams / venues, and, also the managing company of them. So like the Kraft family organization owns obviously the Patriots and below, for example. And so my job is to find the ones that don't currently, speak with AT&T, and to generate conversations with them about what they're doing, about what AT&T is doing. And then, if there's an opportunity for AT&T to help them in any way, it kind of goes from there.
About your journey to this point, where you went to college and how you found out about this position, and really how you landed it.
So I went to State University, which is outside of Orlando, in between Daytona and Orlando. I played college football there for 2 years. So sports have always been my passion. I've always been involved with sports throughout my whole life. I played every sport known to man. Um, Graduated from there in 2019 with a degree in finance and a minor in sales. I got the finance degree because I knew it was a good degree. Whether or not I went into it was, I didn't have a plan at that point. Landed the job with AT&T. Started with them back in June. My 1 year was actually last week. So landed the job at AT&T as a small business in a business development, not business development. Like a development program per se. And then from there, I had the option to go to small business or global business. So I went to global business, and I was in the finance vertical actually, which fit my degree, so it was fine. And then we always heard murmurs of there being a new sports vertical, but I didn't have a way in. I had no idea who ran it. AT&T's huge, so I just did my job within finance, and then the opportunity presented itself for me to ask, once I heard more about this vertical, to ask to go in it. And my manager's mentor is actually the SVP over sports and entertainment at AT&T. And so I was like, hey, listen, like, we actually have the correct connection here. Could this be a viable situation? And my manager was like, let's run with it and see what happens. And so that was in March, and here we are.
I want to take a step back. So as I'm right out of college, I've had a lot of classmates, a lot of friends that were Division II, Division I athletes, such as yourself. So I've seen firsthand the scheduling challenges that you have, right, as an athlete. And a lot of times it's sport. But you were able to really separate yourself throughout your college career on the professional side with internships and being involved in a fraternity, a bunch of different things. So can you go and explain a little bit how you balanced athletics with also building for your future?
Yeah. I mean, I always knew that athletics was my passion. It's what drives me, but I knew that it wasn't the end goal. I would have loved to play in the NFL or whatever. But I knew that the likelihood of that was just so minimal. And I actually didn't, the fraternity thing, I didn't join until my sophomore year. And when I did, I had the conversation of, listen, like, right now I'm in sports. I cannot, like, I'll do what I can for the fraternity and do what I can elsewhere, but I can only do so much with football also. And they really welcomed me with open arms, which was nice. And then I just couldn't stay healthy within sports. So I had enough of that. And I was able to dive headfirst in the fraternity. And I really flourished. I think I developed a lot of skills as far as leadership and communication, because I joined our executive board. And you don't really know how to communicate until you have to communicate with 80, 18 to 22-year-old men who don't have parents around, who don't have to listen to you because I'm the same age as them. And so, dealing with that, it was rough at first, and then you just people start to see your leadership and see that you want the best for everybody. And then you go from there, and on the professional side of internships and things, I think, one of my strengths is I'll talk to anybody, I'll call, email anybody. If I was tasked with calling the President of the United States to try to sell him something, if somebody gave me an email and a phone number, or even a template of the at White House whatever, I would send the email. I don't care, it doesn't matter. So I think I developed something that was like, what, I'm not going to get it if I don't ask for it. My dad always told me when I was in high school, if you don't ask, you don't get. And I never really took that to heart until, I was looking for jobs and internships and wanted to be involved with things. And a lot of times I wouldn't say anything, and then I wouldn't get it, and I'd be disappointed. And then, I just started to do it, and it kind of worked out in its favor.
Spoken like a true biz dev professional. Love it. It's really, we hit on this last week, and it's something that we really preach with game plan. You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, speak to how important that is in not only business, but in just getting those internships, right? You create those opportunities. You may not be comfortable, like you said, speaking with executives, when you started off, or, asking for a job. But speak to how important that really was in helping you get to where you are today.
Yeah, no, I think it was instrumental. I don't think, like for like the sports thing, I didn't know how to get into this, and then I found out, and I would just, that day I asked my manager, hey, can I get into this? Uh, but the thing is if you're going to ask for something like that, you have to be able to back it up as well. Like, I was a college athlete. I was all kinds of high school athletes. And I had performed well to that point. So I don't think if you can't back up what you're asking for, if you're asking for something that's out of the blue and maybe a little bit like, oh, I don't know if you can do that. You have to be confident in yourself that you can, perform well in that new role that you're asking for.
100%. 100%. So let's pivot now back into, your professional job where you are today. So what type of solutions does AT&T have for different stadiums and arenas in regards to moving forward, post-COVID?
Yeah, no, I think it's what don't we have is more more the question. But AT&T is obviously a huge media company, as well as telecom. So anything technology wise in a stadium we can do or our partner can do. But as far as moving forward, in COVID, post COVID, I think the fan experience is number one priority for every team across the country. No matter what sport it is, because my high school coach always said no butts in seats means no money in my pockets. And so these stadiums are going to have 60, 70,000 people with empty seats. And so how do they generate revenue? How do they engage a fan, that's not your avid sports lover? Because people like me, I'm going to turn on the TV and watch it no matter what. Even if there was no sound, I'd probably still watch it because there's nothing it's my thing. But for the person that just casually likes sports, how do we engage them? How do we make them think it's a really cool experience at a deeper level, or even the non-fan in a stadium eventually? So, for example, it went viral last fall, Pose with the Pros at AT&T Stadium in Dallas. It's basically an immersive column. It's basically a massive TV that's touchscreen. And you walk up to it, you put your information in so that they can advertise to you correctly. And then you pick 5 or 6 players like Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, and then you pose with them, and it takes a picture. And so the next step in that is, can we do that at home? And the answer is yes. It's augmented reality. It's web-based augmented reality. So you would have from your phone, you'd pose your kids or your brother or whatever with their favorite player from whatever team that is. So say you're a Giants fan, you'd pose with Saquon Barkley, and your kid or your little brother would take a picture with Saquon Barkley at home. And, they could charge $3.99 for it. Are they going to make all their revenue back from, something like that? Absolutely not. But it's for someone who's not, for example, my brother, if we were at a football game, he didn't care. Like, that was my thing. Me and my dad's thing. My brother, he's just there because he wanted to hang out with us. But AT&T now owns, Warner Media. So how do we incorporate Batman or Wonder Woman for the little girls and little boys, or maybe Looney Tunes or whatever it is? How do we incorporate that kind of stuff to make it an all-around experience for even non-sport lovers?
Yeah, you have to engage everybody, right? Because it's sports is about the experience. Obviously, the game is great, and that's a key reason. But that's not 60% is there for the game, 70%. But then you have the 30% who's there for business or just to have a good time. So it's 100% how can you engage everyone. So we work closely with sport tech startups. That is our kind of our bread and butter. What is AT&T doing in regards to the startup space? Are you working with any startups in particular now to work on that fan engagement? Can you dive a little into that?
I don't really call it a startup. They're pretty young, but Brightline Interactive has been one of the companies we've worked heavily with lately. They originally started as a military company, developing AR and VR for the military. And then, someone was like, well, why don't we just do this with sports? And so they kind of just took off running. So we've been talking with them a little bit. But as far as startup companies, I don't see that side of AT&T, I guess, from where I am. Um, that would be more on like the product side of who they partner with and things like that. Um, but when we do engage a partner, I mean, I don't.
Building off that a little bit, what you said earlier, coming out of COVID, and we do want to engage fans both at home and in the stadium. But what do you see as returning back to stadiums and things of that nature? Like, what is your point of view on that?
That's tough. I think this kind of is where you kind of divide, like, who's a really, really avid sports fan and who just is like, okay. Because for me, I'm dying to go back to a stadium. I want to get in a stadium. I want to, I want to watch sports. I want to be in that environment. I'm a huge college football fan, so that environment is just, I want it really badly right now. But I also know that there's a safety portion to that. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to how they're going to do it. I imagine they're going to do it in a tiered way of, like maybe 25% first, or maybe only season ticket holders, or whatever it's going to be. But I think stadiums are going to be looking into, like thermal cameras, like reading people's temperatures, to make sure that someone who's, if someone's walking in with 102-degree fever, like that could be a problem. Especially if you're in a sardine packed stadium with 90,000 people. All you need is one person and the whole stadium is infected. And that would be a massive issue. So I think it'll be back to normal. I think honestly right now these protests and riots and all that will kind of give a good reading into what this virus is really capable of. Because everybody was staying in their homes and all of this, and now for good reason people are protesting and things of that nature. So, and they're not social distancing. So it's going to be, I'll be curious, so I'm wondering, are cases going to spike because of that? And if they don't, then I would see the NFL being the first one to kind of open it back up to let's play normal.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it's almost like we're accomplishing a positive thing out there, peacefully protesting, but it's almost like a mini case study, right? Because with this virus, we don't know day to day. Like, we haven't experienced this before, so it's one of those things we're going to be.
Right.
It'll be good to see and then see where things go. But obviously, you can't predict the future, but we always love to hear sport industry professional perspective, because everyone has a different take on what they think moving forward. So let's bounce back.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I think all the teams are planning on. They have a plan for normal, and then they have a plan for both extremes of normal butts and seats, as well as no one in the stands. And I think that's the approach you have to take, and it'll probably fall somewhere right in the middle.
100%. I know. I was reading with sponsorships, right? If there's going to be no fans in stands, they're going to have big tarps with sponsorship and things of that nature. Yep. It's having a plan for everything, 100%. But let's take a step back again to career seekers and the meat and potatoes of this podcast, and why Rob and I felt so passionately about starting that. So if you were to reach out, or a student were to reach out to you today who is looking to get into the sport industry, what are 3 pieces of advice that you would give to them to help jumpstart their career?
Well, I think they already checked off the hardest one, and then the most important one is to reach out to somebody. If you don't ask, you're not going to get. But if you don't reach out to somebody in that field, or somebody you want to communicate with, that's step 1. And 2, I think, and it's becoming more and more powerful, is the power of LinkedIn. I mean, that's how Rob and I met. I was on LinkedIn. I've spoken with a couple Jets kids that are my age. And we're both salespeople, but we're not really trying to sell anything to anybody. We're just wanting to communicate what is your job like? What are you guys seeing? And then I spoke with a lady from the NFL, just to talk. So I think, reaching out to people on LinkedIn is a massive platform right now. And people are more than willing right now to do that. I think, 3 months ago, if you would ask me, hey, you want to be on a podcast? I would have been like, probably not. I'm thinking I'm okay. But now it's like, I need to communicate with anybody within sports I can, because this is such a small world. everybody in sports knows everybody. I think I was talking to Rob the other day, and he said, "Do you know Matt Taft?" And I was like, "Yeah, he was my neighbor in college." Like, he's like, "Oh, I live in the same city as him," and I'm like, "That's such a small world." And the whole world is small, but sports makes it even smaller. So I think those would be 1 and 2, is reach out and then use LinkedIn as the most powerful tool as possible. And then step 3, I think, is just to learn as much as possible, which comes with those other 2 of, even if you don't win the job, ask for feedback, or, if you communicate with someone who's been in the industry for a while, ask if you can meet with them once a month, or, every other week for coffee via Zoom or whatever.
But that's Adam LaManque over there. He's a global biz dev at AT&T for sports and entertainment. And you heard his story. He's definitely a rising star within the sports industry and entertainment and facility management. And he just gets it. And we want to thank him for his time today. So if he comes back, we'll try to pop him back on again real quick. But I think we're getting end of our time here. Any final words, Mike?
I just love what he ended on right before he froze. He was just giving so much great content. It overrided. But no, I think it's just grow your personal brand, whether that's LinkedIn, reaching out to different people. It's not who it's who knows you. So don't be afraid to reach out, and just, every day, like we said, just keep getting better and striving to make connections. I challenge between now and our next show, reach out to 2 or 3 different people every day. Whether it's new contacts or someone who you've spoken with in the past, reconnect, see how they're doing from a personal perspective, personal and professional perspective. So that would be my little quick ending rant for you.
No, that's fantastic. And just, I think, a simple trick for me, I always use the birthday. Every day, we get a little announcement whose birthday it is that day. That's an easy way to stay in touch with people. That's an easy way to just reach out and say hello to somebody. You'll realize if you haven't touched base with them in a year or so, and if things change, people's jobs change, people's perceptions change, see if they want to grab a quick little coffee with you. So looking forward to next, I guess we have Tuesday night, but we're going to be doing this every Monday. Monday at 10 a.m. is going to be our schedule. We're going to bring on other guests as well that will just on demand and on as it's just going to be a pop-up. So look out for some of the others. I hope that this was not only informative, but maybe a little entertaining for you, give you a little inspiration. James, how are you, man? Thanks for dropping us a note in there. Leave your comments and what comments we could pop up. Again, this is a networking platform. So it's not just about Mike and I. We're just the vehicles to get you in front of guys like Adam out there, who now we want you to reach out to Adam, connect with him, and tell him, that maybe something in his words of advice were inspiring, or you learned something. But so that's what this platform is for Mike and I. So it's every Monday at 10-ish, hopefully, and then throughout the week. So Mike, final thoughts. These are final thoughts.
Final thoughts. No, like I said, I challenge all of you to reach out to 3 people today, tomorrow, until the next time we connect, and just keep growing those networks. Be on the lookout Wednesday night, 6:00. We'll release it later today. We got 2 special guests coming on from the sport industry. So be on the lookout for that.
Learn more about what we're doing at gameplanu.org. This is Mike's email, mike@gameplanu.org. Obviously, Rob at gameplanu.org. So feel free to send us a note if there's anybody that you would like to see on here that's in your network. Feel free to send us a note, or just below on the comments, just tag them in it. And then we'll take a look at that. Subscribe to us on Sports Biz Radio. It's on YouTube and iTunes. All these shows are going to be listed there, along with all the other content that we produce, which is a ton of it. GamePlanU.org. You'll find out all the information of what we do within the sports technology and then remote internship space. So if you're looking for a remote internship, feel free. Well, hold on. He's back. He's back.
There he is.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, he's back. Well, you're back. So, Adam, any final words?
No, I think this is really cool. I think, the sports, like I told you the other day, the sports world is so small, and the sports world is really coming together. But I think, the sports world is in good hands, because the people that are in it are really passionate about it and willing to learn, and willing to communicate and help other people. So I think that's really important.
What's the best way for people to connect with you? On LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably my best my best bet. And then we can communicate via email after they reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Guys, thank you. Let's get this day started, and I can't wait for 5G to actually come up from AT&T up in Maine. So that could help us out next time.
Have a great one.
You too.
All right. On behalf of Mike, that's Adam down there, and I'm Rob. You're watching Game Playing You Today interview with influencers. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody.